ready?
Well, what if I want to leave it?
Should we go back a little bit?
Oops.
Rolling, reset.
You.
Me? No, don't worry about me.
John.
Hey, look, my commitment's up in 12 months. And I'm back for good after that.
But a lot's gonna happen in the next 12 months.
I know.
The terrorist attack. I mean, not to mention, your dad's autistic.
And you're gonna cheat on me. And you're gonna marry somebody else. And...
Yeah. Let's face it, John. It's over.
Alright, we'll start again. We got nothing. Come up a little taller, Amanda.
Okay.
Are you okay?
I did it on purpose.
Oh.
Your face, dude.
Oh, God, you scared me, man.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I heard your ankle snap.
Yo, your face was like, crazy.
Yeah.
And action.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask.
Oh no.
That was terrible.
That's like $20.
Okay, sorry guys.
Good cut.
How?
Oh, shit. Reset, please. Go back. Reset.
Wow. Is he going to get it?
So I think because I met him first, Lasse, that means I probably will get to be in all his movies.
He's so sensitive and so sort of gentle in this like brilliantly, I don't know, genius way. He's like a genius little baby. He's got the softness of like a child, but like the old soulness of like someone that's just been here forever.
I think the reason Lasse is so successful is because he's Swedish. He's Swedish people. No, he's really outgoing and he's so focused. He listens to everything that happens. When he's watching a take, it's as though he's watching the person on screen and also hearing everything that person on the other side is doing.
I think Amanda did a really great job in adding her own personality to this character. Her unpredictability as an actress also was very rewarding. She just has a way of avoiding cliche choices and obvious choices. She's always original and offbeat in an interesting way.
She came in and did the audition different than anyone had approached it. It almost threw me. It almost sort of I was like, wait, well, is that right? She was so interesting and kind of took it in a really ironic sort of way, and no one else really did that. You know, everyone kind of went for the sentimentality of it.
Well, I'm always interested in character-driven stories. I'm interested in strong emotion, and I'm interested in trying to stay away from sentimentality. But I do like strong sentiment, and it's a fine line there, and I love to walk that fine line and see if I can handle it.
It's really easy because actually Channing, Lasse, and I have the same kind of sense of humor.
And we goof around a lot.
She's nuts. She's absolutely out of her mind, which I love. I have such an endearing place for someone that just is, she has no filter at times, and then other times she's so eloquent, and she can dial it up and dial it forward and dial it back. She's so beautiful. And
it's fun with the physical differences between them, and that's used to some effect, I think, in the film. And they had a great time off screen and always chasing each other around. And I really want to feel that the actors are involved on all levels, that they're free to share ideas and come up with ideas for the script and to improvise if they want to, and whatever it takes to keep a scene alive and fresh. And that's my number one rule. I have to see to that I allow for the actors to be relaxed enough to give the maximum of themselves, and the improvisation has helped, I think, in this film to keep it alive. You'll never see Channing do anything as a character with this kind of range and charm and authority that he has in this story. Very proud I am over their performances.
In today's world, you have to be very creative in terms of being able to create locations around the world in a localized area. We needed to, for a variety of different reasons, to shoot the entire film in South Carolina. Well, South Carolina doesn't look like Mogadishu. It really takes, incredibly talented production design team to be able to do that in a way that the audience believes that what they're looking at isn't in fact, a Civil War fort just outside of Charleston City proper, but rather, an installation in Africa.
I'm not allowed to say exactly where here is. So all I can tell you is that the place that we've been sent makes me miss America very much. And the lack of anything resembling an ocean makes me miss Charleston.
We're trying to create Africa and Afghanistan and Eastern Europe in Charleston. Luckily, we have a very creative production designer.
My name is Kara Lindström. I'm the production designer of Dear John.
Kara Lindström, as I would say. She's a Swede, pretty much. A bit of Swedish and a bit of Russian, I think. A lovely lady. She's a writer too, which came in handy here.
Kara's great. Kara would have made a great officer in the Army. She's fantastic. She's a hard charger. She knows what she wants. She's very detail oriented, and her discipline comes out. You can see it on film. I mean, the sets that she's created are amazing.
I mean, basically what I do, I think what a designer does is you talk to a lot of people and try and synthesize it and make some sort of coherence out of it. That's all. It's all fun. I mean, it's really a fun job. What was important was to bring as much authenticity into it, to anchor it in the real world. It was all about making everything feel very, very real. When John sees 9/11 footage at the Eastern European Cafe, I wanted it to be all news, right there. The bug had to be real on the television, which is very small and you'll never see it, but for me that was really important. We had to do not only Charleston, South Carolina, we had to do Germany, Afghanistan, Africa, the Congo, and Eastern Europe, all in Charleston. So that was a challenge. It's all about constantly looking at pictures. What do these places look like? What does the dirt look like? What do the electrical lines look like? What are the people selling? What are they, for example, Africa, you don't see wood in Africa. Why? Because they're burning it. So you're not going to see wooden chairs. You're going to see metal chairs, or you're going to see plastic. You're going to see, so you have to, those are the kinds of broad strokes you start with, and then you work your way out from there. Lasse is very intent on wide shots. I mean, that's really his signature. He's really classical in that, and you have to sort of know where you are, boom, graphically at the get-go. My Eastern European cafe I found while taking a walk one day, and it's an abandoned school. And I looked and I went, oh, that could be Eastern Europe if we add to it.
The one that's worrying me a little bit is the Eastern Europe, trying to make it feel a little colder and wetter. But if the sun's like this, it's very hard. There's not much you can do. So we're going to try and knock out a lot of the direct sun or put up trees.
We're in downtown Charleston. We're going to make Hungary, a little piece of Hungary right here. And we have awnings that go over this cafe. Awning, it's the Tigris Cafe. Tigris Cafe Vas, I think that's how you say it in Hungarian. We'll make a plant between these two windows here of that door, as if we have another door. And then we have a Bata shoe store awning here. We have some market down there. The only problem with this, it's not a complete world. It's not 65 degrees. And it's as if it's a stage set, because the reverse is this very modern, very American playground. The building has been abandoned for a long time. There's a tree growing up. You can see bits of it in there. We can't be on the second floor. We're not allowed. Completely unsafe. We have to shore up most of the walls in here. We have to build a structural engineer to tell us what we could do. So we can have no crew on the roof. We can't go up to the second floor. All work we do on the second floor has to be from the outside. So we're going to have a lift down here tomorrow taking up all the wood, and we'll see what's inside there. We don't even know. If it's okay, if it's clean enough, we'll replace some of the glass and we'll restore it. But if it's not, we may just board it up again. I'm not sure. I haven't figured that one out yet. The Afghan street is a cement factory outside of Charleston, about an hour, which is a cement factory that's being demolished. So it looks like a bomb has hit it, quite literally. So we had to control the demolition as much as possible because we couldn't stop them. They were chewing away at the set as we were making the set. So that was actually the biggest challenge. So it's sort of like shoveling during a blizzard. It's shifting sands all the time. Every time I go out there, other buildings are destroyed. So I just hope that we shoot very quickly. This whole set was it was not scripted this way. It was scripted as empty and an abandoned cement factory with no life in it. And the whole point was, let's make the special forces feel that they're safe, so that when the guy comes out shouting and shooting him eventually, there's, oh wow, they let their guard down. And actually it's more dangerous than it looks. So the notion was, let's bring life back to what is essentially a bombed out world. And that became just the sort of the through line of the set. Life is coming back. Many different kinds of markets because life is coming back. There's a tree that was not there before because life is coming back. We put that tree in. That's a beautiful tree. A well because life is coming back. We have a mosque. It's like the signage. We have to get a Pashtun speaker.
What is he saying though?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Come on, language specialist, figure it out.
Look, man, I speak Pashto, I speak Farsi, I speak all kinds of shit.
We have a tea room set that was bombed out. We have trucks and we have propaganda posters, and we have other vehicles, and we have animals. And we had to redo all the harnesses and wrap them in rope and yarn and all this kind of stuff, and like that.
A lot of the real soldiers who had been to Afghanistan said it was, you know, aside from a couple details that I don't want to mention on camera, it was very, very, very close.
We're shooting two different kinds of Africa. We're shooting a military installation, which we're making at Fort Moultrie, which is an old fort here in Charleston, which, if you look at the research of, say, forts in Congo, it looks exactly, of course, because they were colonies just like we were a colony, so the architecture kind of works. We have to, of course, put dirt on the street and make it more Africa, but we start with a beautiful setting there that works. Since we're on the ocean, I'm saying it's in that little 20-mile stretch that actually is in Congo on the oceans, and you can see the flag up there. You know, a place is made up not just of architecture and stuff, it's made up of movement. You know, and that includes vehicles and people and animals. We're shooting at Fort Moultrie, which is a old military installation in South Carolina, which looks very colonial. So when you see Fort Moultrie and you see the great way it works into the landscape, the way it does in Africa, you go, okay, that's something to start with.
Right, let's see here.
And of course then it's about Terry, the director of photography, shooting it in a way that makes it authentic, which he does.
Right now we're trying to pretend we're in Africa.
Ones that are going jacketless, I'm giving them hand warmers.
Which is a little hard, but...
Why is it hard?
Because it's a little green and then palm trees, and you've seen so many palm trees in the film that feel like Charleston, so I think with a little help with flame bars, heat haze, filtration, you know, we can make it feel a little more rough and rugged.
Special effects. When the helicopter lands, we're going to have some dust flying around just for effect. All the smoke atmosphere, pretty ingenious way, these brush burners, and we just assemble them in a row, and we're cross-feeding it with two propane sources. And what it is this will be mounted below camera, and it creates the heat wave effect. And this is supposed to be Africa, so it needs to be hot when it's actually pretty cool out. That's pretty much our day-to-day. Yesterday we did a second unit. We had a bunch of bullet hits going off.
We got a man down! Noodles, you gonna be all right, man?
We killed John. We killed like 3 Afghan rebels. This is a mock-up of our targets, and we'll have 6 hits somewhere, wherever the director puts this red pin to, and we have 5 takes of that, and we secretly have 2 extra. We don't tell them that. We just like to give them a little bit more than what they asked for.
Move, up and shoot. Move, up and shoot. What's up, man? It's your magazine.
We move around a lot, so letters tend to come late and out of order. We may want to number our letters from here on out, though, just so we know which order we wrote them in.
The African village, we're using a piece of grassland at the cement factory up above the quarry, and we're basically building a village, a little village in this grassland in South Carolina.
This base camp that they have looks like you could have picked it up from anywhere in Afghanistan or Iraq and brought it here.
Well, it's a really long process. You read the script a lot, you have a notion of what the movie should look like as a whole, and then you hope that every piece of it feeds into that whole. And that comes from the director generally, and then it comes from me, and then it comes from Terry, and it all becomes this, you want it to be a coherent piece. Everything should be of a piece. And then you start doing the research, and then you start, everything gets broken down until you're finally talking about what's the shot.
Dear John, I know it's been way too long since I last wrote you. I've been staring at this blank page for the last 2 hours. Well, if I'm being honest, I've been staring at it for the last 2 months.
One of the many things that are very authentic on the set is the commander, the SF team, Captain Stone, his office area. They have his little, what we call a hooch, where he sleeps, and his office area there. That was very authentic. Just the way it's laid out with the lights and the fencing with the barbed wire, because SF teams, when they're on a regular Army base camp, they have their own little area cordoned off because they have a lot of classified, top secret kind of stuff.
We did Mr. Tyree's house before Richard Jenkins was on the movie. It was based on the script and so on and so forth. But first of all, he's a great actor. We know that. But secondly, he walked in and it was like he just sort of embraced it. I mean, my job is to make it all feel like a thing of a piece, right? And then when you have an actor who responds to the place with such coherence, it's really, I don't know. It's really great. You go, okay, job's done. That's great. I do believe an actor's performance is better if he or she understands the place they're in. I mean, there's no way. It has to. They get better. Everything works, and vice versa. We get better as they get better. I mean, the whole thing works in what's that? Synchronicity.
And I like the little hidden gems that she puts out there. There was an Eastern European set that had a billboard for chocolate, but it was chocolat as a tribute to Lasse's movie. And on the base camp, even though it's Afghanistan, so we have a lot of NATO and international cooperation in Afghanistan, and they put up a Swedish flag as a tribute to Lasse. So I like her attention to detail. Like I said, she made a really good Army general.
When it's all dressed, when everything's in place and you look at it and go, I buy this. I say this looks good. Whether or not it gets to the screen that way is another question. Mostly it does. If I think it's right, it will generally photograph correctly. But usually like in your gut, in the way that if you make a painting or a piece of music, anything, you write a letter, if it's good. I don't know how else to explain it. I know it's kind of airy-fairy, but that's true.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Greg Bishop. I'm the Army's liaison to the entertainment business. We got involved in this picture, Dear John, when Marty and Jeremiah and Lasse came to our office in Los Angeles and presented us with the script, and we discussed it. We talked about it. We read the script. And one of the things that really interested us the most was the character of John Tyree, who was a really good soldier. He was put in a very interesting situation with trying to develop a relationship with a woman, and then 9/11 started, and having a long-distance relationship. The character's a really good soldier, and that's one of the things we really liked about it.
I want to thank you for what you're doing. Know that our prayers are with you. I just hope that whatever happens, it'll be over soon, so you boys can come home safe and sound.
Oh, it won't be over anytime soon. Afghanistan will just be the first stop of many.
He's right, And pretty soon they're going to be asking you all to re-enlist for another tour.
Slowly but surely, they'll stop asking and start telling.
None of the soldiers I know need to be asked, sir. And we sure don't need to be told.
I got to know so many soldiers, and so many of them are just normal guys, but they have sort of a quietness about them. There's always sort of a stillness in their eyes that I don't really know how to explain. You just have to know one to know it.
I served 2 years in Iraq and a year in Afghanistan. So the Afghanistan scenes, and I've been through those scenarios completely. I got out of the military in May, and I was working here locally on a TV show. And when Dear John came to town, they were looking for a military advisor, and got a chance to interview for it, and that interview obviously went pretty well. So they offered me the job to start helping them prep and help make Dear John as realistic as possible. So that's how I came onto the show. And then while we were there, Lasse asked me to audition so that he could get a feel for how soldiers talk and act. And so when I did the audition, I never really thought that it was for real, but apparently it was. And about a month later, I got a call saying that I had been cast as Starks. So here I am. I've never acted before. I've done some stunt work, but that's about it.
What up, man? Welcome back, John. Oh, look at you.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at your voucher.
How's Atlantic City, man?
laugh it up. Have a little thing. One thing I asked.
I didn't say a word. This is the first time I've seen him.
You didn't know.
He just got back. How could he know?
Don't even bother unpacking, guys. Move out bright and early.
Movies in the military are not that different. The logistics systems and the logistics trains required to set up an entire base camp like this and to feed the entire crew and to take care of the entire crew. Water and food and porta potties and electricity and all of that. It's really the same sort of challenge that a brigade combat team would have in going from one location to a field location. The professionalism of a movie crew is they're just, they may have funkier clothes and funkier hair, but they're just as professional in doing their job as soldiers. I've been very impressed working with movie production companies.
Honestly, on a day-to-day basis, it's not that different. We still get up early. Everybody does their job. They come out here, and this is like any film set is very much like a military operation, very well coordinated. Everybody has their part to play. We all come out here. It's all a team effort.
It takes a while to figure out, who's who and who does what job to kind of figure out that sort of hierarchy in the production company. Where, as in the Army, it's very easy.
Private first class, specialist, sergeant first sergeant, captain, corporal, lieutenant colonel, staff sergeant.
One of the other things the Army liked a lot was the fact that the target audience for this film was also a target audience which is very different than what would normally go see in an Army movie. However, a person that is very influential in a decision whether a young man or woman joins the Army or not. And we're talking moms and aunts and sisters and girlfriends and wives. So from that regard, we thought it was an interesting opportunity.
Careful not to step in any fires, okay?
Okay. I'll see you soon then.
I'll see you soon then.
Probably the most important part about it, about the whole relationship, was the dedication that Lasse and Marty and Jeremiah and really the entire crew had in getting the Army side of this story right. They really wanted to get the accuracy down. They wanted to nail it, and I think they've done a great job. Everything that we asked them to change, they changed, and none of it was storyline related. It was all, a soldier wouldn't say this, they would say that, or the correct technical term for what you're trying to get across is this, not that. In the airplane hangar, Captain Stone walks up, and all the guys jump up, and they all say they want to re-inlet. Well, they want to extend.
All right, fellas, here's the deal.
Requesting permission to extend my tour, sir.
Requesting permission to extend as well, 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 sir.
Well, the original dialogue was they want to re-enlist. The likelihood of having 12 people having the same, what we call a re-enlistment window, is almost nothing. But because the scene was happening over in Germany, a term that we have is called extending. You can extend a foreign tour. If you're overseas and you want to stay longer, you can extend. The movie starts in 2001 and goes all the way to 2007. Well, 2001 to 2007 was probably the most transitional period in the Army's history, probably since World War II, just in terms of uniforms. I mean, we didn't wear this uniform in 2001. We had the BDUs, the green uniforms, and then when we were at the beginning of the war in Afghanistan, we were wearing the desert camouflage. Then about 2005, 2006, we went to this uniform.
Special Forces, we wear different uniforms. We modify our uniforms to have our pockets on the sleeves with the Velcro. And Special Forces has been doing that for years. When we're wearing our vests, we can't get into our pockets. And so it was Special Forces who came up with the adaptation to put them here, and now the Army has followed suit.
Special Forces is called special for a reason. They get special training. It takes a certain type of an individual to be able to take on that responsibility. Extremely smart, physically fit, mentally capable of handling incredible levels of stress. They are revered soldiers in the U.S. Army. Not everybody can be a Special Forces soldier, and they are sent on particular missions that takes. They operate in 12-man teams. They have one officer, maybe a warrant officer, and 10 non-commissioned officers, sergeants, and so they don't have adult supervision. They're out there doing this stuff on their own, and you've got to have responsible, mature, smart, physically fit soldiers who can go out there and do those types of missions on their own.
Good.
Yeah, you?
Actually, John and I share a very similar story. I was in the Army just prior to 9/11. I had thought maybe I would just do 4 years and get out. 9/11 happened and changed everything, changed the entire mood amongst all of us, amongst all of our friends. Gave us a renewed sense of purpose and direction into what we were going to do. And also I've experienced on the other side of it too, where you deploy a lot, and young man, single, out of college, in the military, but have had relationships that just dissolved because of the deployments and the time spent away. And it's just it's a hard thing, so I can really identify with John's character.
Gavin's a real Special Forces. He was at the front of Baghdad, and he's maybe one of the more interesting people I've met as soldier-wise. He's really wickedly smart. He's wickedly smart, professional, but really charismatic.
Look, man, I speak Pashto, I speak Farsi, I speak all kinds of shit. What kind of languages you speak?
And Special Forces, they're the best of the best. They're the elite. They're the smartest people that they find, and that they're specifically trained for. There's 12 guys. They all are specifically great at something.
Channing's an excellent soldier. If acting wasn't his calling, I think being a soldier would have been his second calling. He's a hard charger. Very much, he brings a level of intensity to this that he would bring, I'm sure, to the military. He's curious. He wants to know. He doesn't complain. Never heard any complaints from him, and so I think he would make an excellent soldier.
Channing really wanted to get this right, and I'd really love to say that he feels an obligation and responsibility to really honor soldiers. To get it right. He's meticulous about making sure that what he does is something that that a quality non-commissioned officer would do in the Special Forces. He wanted to get it right. He took it very seriously, and I as a soldier really appreciate that he had such an interest and compassion or passion in getting it right. All the guys did. All the guys really wanted to respect. They felt the responsibility to respect soldiers. I thought that was impressive. A lot of these soldiers that you see running around the set just got back from Iraq maybe 3-4 months ago. So they've come back, they're in reset, and we've given them a little bit of not a vacation because they've been working, but a little fun, something other than doing their normal soldier duties. There were 2 pilots in the Black Hawk and 1 crew, actually they brought 2 crew chiefs. One of the crew chiefs actually got a line or 2 in the movie.
Can you get this set for me? Yeah. Don't lose it, all right? Yeah, I got you.
One thing that's very key for taxpayers to understand, there's no expense to the taxpayers when the military supports a movie.
Whenever the military calls and asks me to do a book signing, I do, because that's my tiny role. So I get down there and, of course, read the book, love the book, but really need to do a story with a Marine. This is the first thing I get. So, of course, later I wrote the lucky one, and there you go. And then, of course, first book signing. Got the lucky one. I got Dear John, second person in line. You really need to do a story about someone in the Navy. I'm like, oh, for goodness, because it's just a way of life right here.
We're going to start by just saying your name.
Benny Dietz.
Okay. And tell what your job is.
I'm the picture car coordinator. I went to him, I said, hey, I do know a lot about coins. I've got scads of catalogs and books and reference materials, etc. I read the script. Mr. Tyree is me. I'm exactly the same. I'll lock myself in my room for days at a time and just have my coins spread out everywhere and just look at them.
Well, I don't even know if it's borderline. I think he's obsessed with these coins. I mean, he's incredibly focused, and I know that John says he won't pay any. He won't know what's going on because he's very focused. But he does know. He does hear. He does listen. But it's a place where he feels safe, and a place where he feels in control. And I would say obsession is not a bad word. He's not just a collector. He collects bizarre coins that don't have a lot of value, but they do to him.
To me, they're more than just an investment. They're a piece of history you can hold in your hands. I've been a lifelong coin collector, an American Numismatic Association member since 1987. I've been past president of local coin clubs, and just anything and everything have to do with coins. And I supplied all the coins that they used were all mine from my personal collection, and all the books that they used in there were my personal collection. So they used all my stuff in there, and then I advised them on how to set this up and how to set that up.
Out of all the coins that you have, what is your absolute favorite coin? Do you have one?
'78 Jefferson Mule.
Wow.
That'd be my favorite.
The coin is a mule. As you cross a horse and a donkey, you get a mule. With a coin, you take one obverse and the incorrect reverse, so that each side is from a different coin, and that's what we call a mule.
Every now and then they make a mistake, batch accidentally slips through this thing, head's a nickel, tail's a penny, thing's a mule. Really more of a novelty.
Do you know what this is?
My grandmother gave me a silver dollar a long time ago when I was about 12 years old, and then she took me to a coin show. And there I bought my first coin, an 1880 Indian head cent, which I still have, just as Mr. Tyree still has that first coin that he purchased. I was advising Richard Jenkins on set, when he was playing Mr. Tyree on this and that, and I was showing him, I had to show him one of my Brian pieces, this satirical coin, and I explained it to him, and he kind of liked the explanation, and so they incorporated that into a scene, which I hope makes it in the final cut. But Savannah picks up this large coin and asks, "Well, what about this one?" And he shows it to her. He says, "Oh, this was from the 1896 presidential election, satirical for William Jennings Bryan," and picks up a silver dollar and shows it to her, and the comparison between the two sizes and everything. So he picked up on that story, liked it, and they incorporated that into a scene.
This is a satirical coin.
This is massive.
Yeah, William Jennings Bryan, when he ran for president, he believed in, no, don't turn it over, just leave it here. Do you remember that he had the free silver policy, you remember?
Oh.
And McKinley was his opponent, and he's, right here. Now, see this, that's a real silver dollar. That's the size of a silver dollar.
Wow.
And McKinley said that if Bryant,
So weird.
Bryant had his way, then the silver dollars would be that big. Like, yeah.
That's amazing.
Can you imagine
No.
walking around with that in your pocket? Yeah.
That's really funny.
It's humorous.
Well, I have two passions: coin collecting and the movies, of course. And I wanted to. The coin collectors are becoming scarcer by the day, and if there's anything I could do with this movie, for this movie to promote, maybe somebody start collecting coins, that'd be a double benefit for us.
This one is kind of a cull, a coin that's in really bad shape, worthless to most collectors.
And not to you.
Very few people want damaged coins, and I can always carry around this one right here. It's a damage. Somebody's wiped the date off of it. In the back it says 1 cent, United States of America.
Dear John is not a film about autism, but in the making of Dear John, we find the story of Braden Reed, which certainly is about autism. It's about how the making of a film can help a boy like Braden function more typically in the real world.
Whoa. Hey, buddy, I want you to meet my friend John. John, this is Alan.
Alan, nice to meet you.
Say hi. He's a little bit shy, isn't he? Hey, where's your dad?
Over there.
2 steps behind, as usual. Sorry, he's like a heat-seeking missile every time he sees you.
Braden plays Tim's autistic son, Alan. This character is based on Nicholas Sparks' personal experience.
One of my sons, was diagnosed as autistic, Asperger's, when he was very young, and we've had to do a lot of work with him.
When the director and the producer made the decision to hire Braden, they took a risk. But many people remember Braden as the highlight of the film. From the way he improvised, to the way he inspired people on set, to the way he played with Lasse's glasses. For one person, it was an experience that would change their life.
Beep, I have a motor. Beep. Beep, beep, beep. I have a motor. Do, 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 do. do, do, do.
An interesting thing that Lasse and the producers have done is to hire a real autistic boy to play my son, Alan. He's not an actor, and he does things because of his condition, and I just kind of have to incorporate it into the scene.
Oh, we live here year-round.
Good.
Yeah, we were driving down every weekend anyway, so I finally just convinced my wife this just made the most sense.
She didn't want ice cream?
Oh, my wife? No. No, actually, she's on vacation herself.
She, wife.
It's kind of difficult to take trips together. It's fine. You know, we make it work.
No, I'm up here on the left.
So that's been exciting, and that's been an interesting way of working that I've never done before, and it's breathed a lot of life into the lines on the pages.
From Lasse's and my perspective, we thought it would be a really interesting opportunity if we found a young man who was in fact autistic and allow him to interact with our actors. And you know, what we were incredibly surprised by after going through this audition process was that Braden, yes, he's autistic, but he is a naturally gifted actor. And you know, when he's on set and when he's shooting, it's really magical.
And he would knock it out perfectly professional, probably more professional than most of the actors on this movie.
He learns his lines and he practices like most actors, and he comes on set and he does them flawlessly, and then we tell him to change things around, and then he makes up his own stuff.
He's going off in all kinds of wonderful directions and having 1,000 ideas.
I wish I could be that free, you know, acting. And you know, he would just be like, in the middle of the scene, run over and hide. And he's like, I'm hiding!
And just sort of goes with it. And it keeps our actors on their toes, and it forces them to react in a real way as opposed to a scripted way.
It just sounded a lot more natural coming out of his mouth.
It sounded fine.
It sounded fine.
No.
Yes, it did.
No, it didn't.
It did. It really did.
It didn't, but thank you.
It really did.
You think so?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. Hey, don't honk the horn. It's nighttime.
Boom.
It feels like real life. We're not even really acting around him, and it's so liberating.
Being able to capture that magic is what great filmmaking is always about. You know, you set the tables, you create the guidelines from which you want the scene to work, and then you hope something that you never expected also happens. And you know, our challenge with Braden is going to be what to cut out.
Lasse and Marty and the casting people met a lot of other little kids who were actor kids who could do it. And yet here again, this goes to Lasse's very, very subtle and delicate sensibilities, in that he appropriately saw that the behaviors of an autistic boy are different than would be acted by a young child.
A real autistic boy doing this is so much more interesting than having a kid pretending to be one.
There's just a certain something in a kid, with the way a kid with autism holds himself, the way that they move, that it's really hard to replicate. And we talked about Braden and whether we thought he'd be able to take direction, and actually the therapy that we've provided, you know, that he's gotten since he was 2, it's all about him taking direction. You know, it's more educational, but still it's him learning to do what his teacher says.
It's repetition and reward. The more he would repetitiously do something, the more rewards he got. So it worked perfectly for acting, because that's exactly what you do. You just do things over and over and over again and do it the exact same way.
ABA therapy is what it's typically referred to. And it's an expensive therapy because typically it's carried out 20 to 40 hours a week of intensive one-to-one therapy between a therapist and the child. Our agency is a nonprofit agency, and we serve a lot of kids that we serve at no cost.
Braden was waitlisted for free services from Carolina Autism. Since private therapy can cost up to $200,000 a year, his mother Adrian began the therapy herself. She took free classes on how to administer ABA therapy. Usually parents are discouraged from being the therapists, but Adrian and Kevin had no choice. The early intervention and constant therapy are what makes Braden so able to communicate today. Most people can't tell he's autistic.
ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. If he's engaged in a learning activity and he doesn't do it correctly, the therapist might just sort of ignore his incorrect response. When he's looking for them to say, "Great job, Braden, give me a high five," if they don't do that, that's sort of like a punishment to him, because he didn't get the reward.
It was just before he was 2 when he was
20 months.
Yeah, when he was diagnosed.
I really felt like Adrian was making something bigger than it was until we had a typical child. We go through our photo albums where Braden was young and had no expression on his face. And he was our first child, so we really didn't know. And then we look at him now in pictures, and we look at Danny when he was at a similar age, and it's remarkable.
Because of the social disconnect that they seem to experience, they don't really understand how to share enjoyment or share disappointment. We call it joint attention, where a normal 2-year-old child, if they see something funny or if a glass of water drops on the floor, the first thing they usually do is look to their parent to see what their parent thinks about that. If something's funny, they may laugh, and they look to see who else is laughing. A child with autism will laugh at something that's funny, but it doesn't occur to him to look and see who else thinks that's funny. A lot of people with autism don't develop language ever. Most people with autism don't develop functional language at all. They may be able to speak, but they may not speak in a way that most of us would consider a normal way of speaking. They may repeat what other people say, or say things that just don't relate at all to the current situation.
I remember thinking, gosh, if we could just get him to say yes and no, and we would shake his head for yes. Oh yes, you want a cookie? Here you go. Good
Turn
boy.
it for no.
Yeah, and then we turn it for no. And after probably 8 months of doing that, constantly throughout the day, I asked him for something, and he started rubbing his hair.
We thought he'd be bald at 3. He would rub as hard as he could on top of his head.
But the words came.
The words came later. Braden's world is very black and white. And now that he's been given the ability to communicate that he didn't have for years, it's black and white. The good part is he can't lie, and we try not to take advantage of that.
Kids and adults with autism tend to be very literal thinkers. So if you say it's raining cats and dogs, they expect animals to fall from the sky. If you say it's almost time to finish a task, like with filming, if you say it's almost time to go back to take a break, that doesn't mean much, because almost is such an abstract concept. You would need to say, in 5 minutes we're going to take a break, for instance.
The final missing link, I think, for Braden and all of us, and the therapists and all the money and all the time and all the effort, was Danny, his younger brother.
You want the sunrise, go back to bed. I want to make you laugh. Mess up my bed with me. Kick off the covers, I'm waiting.
I remember coming home from work one night. Danny had on a fireman's outfit, and he was running around the house saying he was a fireman. Braden became enraged because he was telling Danny that he wasn't a fireman. He was a 3-year-old little boy, and that was ridiculous because he wasn't old enough to drive, and he didn't know how to work a fire truck. And he became really enraged at Danny for thinking that. And we really had to struggle with the whole black and white, teaching Braden about imagination.
Pretend play.
Pretend play is something that he's just now getting.
You want the sunrise, go back to bed, and I want to make you laugh.
Autism is actually a neurological disorder. It's the wiring of the person's brain is different than someone who doesn't have autism. So it's the way that their nervous system perceives vision, hearing, touch, smell, taste, the sense of balance. It's pretty popular to play kids with autism as maybe standing up on a table or jumping up and down, plugging their ears. Those are things that we see a lot in kids with autism, and it's because their nervous system is just hardwired differently. The question is why, and we really don't know the answer to that, but we do know that it's a common thing with kids with autism not to be able to tolerate odd noises or certain frequencies. It might not be that it's a loud noise that bothers them. It might be that it's, just a certain pitch. Maybe the pitch of, someone's voice or the noise that's made by the blender.
And when you feel a stove and it's hot, or you walk outside and you're cold, Braden, his sensory didn't work that way. And he doesn't learn anything by watching us do it. He has to be taught. And once he's taught, he had the intelligence there to grasp it, but like using a straw is something that we really didn't accomplish till he was probably 5.
Braden's parents have just worked right alongside his therapist for the last 4 years to make sure that he got as much as was available.
How many times did I beat you in checkers?
No times, right?
That's right.
But like 4 or 5 times in chess, right?
Well, how many times did other people at the movie set beat you in checkers?
Not really any.
No,
now it's
didn't.
your turn, Phil.
Kids like this make it all worthwhile. If 1 in 50 of the kids that we serve do as well as he's done, then we consider it worth, our efforts. It's really interesting and sort of fun to work with Braden because he's so able to communicate and has learned to express himself. He's able to say, I'm worried that we won't film today. One of the things that we learned early on from Henry Thomas, acting is all about waiting, and that's hard for a kid with autism. A majority of our days were spent in the trailer or just outside the trailer.
I created a little journal for him, and he would write every day on the set. He would bring that back in on the days when he was at school to share with the students in his class and engage in conversation about what goes on in a movie. How do they make a movie? What was he doing all day long? They learned what a trailer was, so that was neat. He talked a lot about the trailer, really liked being in the trailer, I think mainly because he could play checkers and chess.
I told him we were in the trailer, and I said, Braden, we're going to leave the trailer and we're going to grab something to eat. But I want you to know that there are 2 other boys outside. They're wearing the same clothes you are wearing, and they have the same blue eyes, and they have blonde hair. And he looked shocked, and tears welled up in his eyes. And he said, but Mommy, what if you take the wrong boy home?
Every word you say, I think I should write down.
Knock, knock.
I hear more knock-knock jokes when I think he is nervous and doesn't necessarily know what to say.
Who's there?
I want to stop it. Boo.
Boo hoo.
Mommy, I think I made a little mistake on that. I was thinking, could I tell the joke that's not knock knock?
We'll start with the knock knock and then let's tell us the next one. Go ahead.
And I can't.
You got a good knock knock one?
No.
Well, tell us your other joke and then tell us the knock knock one. What joke you got?
Why did the ghost wear a Band-Aid?
I don't know why.
Because he had a boo boo.
That's pretty good. He really has a hard time if something's supposed to be a certain way and it doesn't go down that way. That's one of the things we still work on a lot with his therapy, is processing that everything's not going to be the way it's supposed to be.
Doing the movie was actually good because of that. We had to tell him that some days are going to be different, and we don't know what time you're going to be going to the set tomorrow. We'll find out later.
It was good that he didn't get to bed on time, and it was good that he got to go into class late a couple times, because the thought of being tardy to class is just incomprehensible to Braden, where most kids are like, heck yeah, I'd like to sleep in. One day last year I overslept, and I woke him up 2 hours late, and he reminds me of it to this day, that we were late to school one day last year. He was pretty upset that he wasn't going to see everybody again. He's more concerned about missing his movie friends than being in the movie. I don't think he really grasps yet that he's going to be on a 30-foot screen in a big premiere. He was more upset that he wasn't going to get to spend time with Mr. Phil, and that he wasn't going to get to ride the horse all the time, and that he wasn't going to get to see his friends.
And play chess and checkers.
And play chess and checkers.
With all the grown-ups.
And have his own trailer. In the beginning, his biggest concern was food. That they were going to have food that he liked. That was his only apprehension going in. It was almost a deal breaker. It was almost a deal breaker. Yeah, we had to make sure we had fresh fruit and peanut butter and jelly and things that he'd eat.
Another area where he needs guidance is with food, because he's very finicky about his food.
Alan, remember what we talked about?
And when I told him that he was going to be pretending to be a little boy named Alan, he thought it would be cooler if he could just be a little boy named Braden Reed. And he didn't understand why they weren't just making a movie about Braden Reed.
Yeah,
he even asked Lasse several times.
If they would make a movie about Braden instead of about Alan.
You have two names.
Braden and Alan.
We were very worried about whether he would be able to do the scene with a horse. We were afraid that his autism would really limit, how much he could do with that. We met with Dan, who's the handler for the horses, and he said, well, we already know that Braden can't do the scene. We just want to know if Braden can even just be near the horse. He said, pardon me for being a straight shooter, but I don't think that Braden will be able to do this, frankly, and my job is to work for the movie to make sure that the movie gets what it needs. I'm not here to give lessons to Braden. In the movie, Braden is supposed to really have this relationship with the horse where he sort of is a natural, and it turned out that really over the course of the next couple of weeks as Braden worked with the horse, what happens in the movie really happened. He really did start to have that relationship with the horse. Probably the third day that he was with the horse, he started riding the horse, and he wasn't. No, I think he rode the horse the second day, or maybe even the first with help. But he started riding by himself with no one running alongside him. And he was in the movie. He's supposed to raise his hands up over his head, without holding the reins, and that actually happened while we were practicing. And it was a real emotional time. And Dan, who's the tough guy that told us that Braden would never be able to do this scene, he became Braden's biggest fan. So he actually sort of went to bat for Braden to get them to consider letting Braden do the scene with the horse. It was all going to be done with doubles. They had doubles hired to do the horse scene instead of Braden, and they were just going to cut in some shots of Braden's face, but he wasn't really going to be doing any of the stuff. But Braden really did it all. Dan had to go to bat for him because I think everybody was a little worried about Braden being on the horse by himself. There was a scene where Braden is standing in the middle of the field, just nose to nose with the horse, where the horse's face is right up against Braden's face. They filmed that, and Braden was really doing that. He had his hands right on the horse's nose. The horse was a very gentle, good horse, and they did have a relationship. It was a great, great experience. And how this all relates to whether autism is an asset to Braden as an actor, Dan, the handler, the wrangler for the horses, said that he came over to me actually after the first day with Braden. He came over and he said, I'll be straight up with you. I don't think autism is going to be an issue for Braden. I think it's going to be an asset.
Happy to lay, just happy to be here. I'm happy to know you.
Feeling good?
Yeah.
Play me a song.
I think that horse suits you just fine.
Me too.
Taste on my tongue, paperweight on my back, cover me like a blanket, mess up my bed.
I don't think Braden had any experience with horses, and we took him into an evaluation phase, and quite honestly, it changed my life. I'd never been around an autistic child. I didn't know what to expect, didn't know how to talk to him. But he made it so easy. I mean, he did it, I didn't. One of the greatest kids. I got to tell you, I'm not really, I don't spend a lot of time around kids on film, so it's not my responsibility. Working with Braden was a labor of love. I mean, he was so positive, he was so into it, and he was so animated, and he was absolutely perfect on film. He really focused on the horse. to the degree that I've never seen that before. I've never seen such a, use the word bonding if you want to, and I'm not sure that's correct, but what the horse really understood what was going on. And calling him Dr. Phil, I mean, he told me, he said, you know, this is it. What you've done is, you've done on film what we try to do in real life. I was right by the horse when Braden was on the horse. When they actually reversed it, I looked around and you could actually see Braden's face in the horse's eye. And that was an incredible experience. I don't know any child that age that could do what Braden did. I mean, I've seen a lot of children on a lot of film. I've never seen one that took to the job as well as he did.
And no need to wonder what's been on my mind. It's you. It's you. It's you.
It made me a believer. I have no idea that it could have been accomplished, but it did.
Don't want to forget come daylight.